I'm a remote contractor, and I've been doing that off the island for the last 7 years. It works well because I'm in the software industry, and we have fantastic internet, and that makes it all all very possible and fun to do. Like I was saying, most of the time with me, I tend to hop between clients. The longest time I've had one client on one project is 2 years, and then I've had clients as some projects only a couple of weeks. Most last a few months. So whilst I have my favorite tools like Slack, Trello for just keeping organized, and I use Google Docs. I'm a G Suite and Google person by default. What I find is I have to often just go with actually what my client uses. hence the tools there. So I find myself, jumping between different tool sets, different chat clients, and different planning software like Trello. And I think the main point I wanted to make there is when you do this style of work I do, and you're tending multiple clients, it's just the flexibility to be able to hop in between different tools is the most important thing, and then get on board with whatever their process is, because sometimes otherwise you meet a lot of friction. So going with the flow is my first mantra, and then if they don't have anything, I'll stick to my tools. But the 3 tools that really have helped me lots and I've stuck with over the last few years is a Toggle for time management, LastPass, which I've used for years and works really well across browsers for password management, and something that isn't a tool, as it were, but it's critical in actually getting paid and actually managing payments and invoices. So I was just going to talk a little bit more about those 3. Could I share my screen, Elsa?
Yeah, you can share it. I will stop this one. But maybe, yeah. Well, okay.
If that's okay, I'll share quickly. And can you see my screen?
I would say go ahead, click share. I've never tried this software, but if you click in the...
Yeah, we're seeing your screen, so go to the tool.
Cool.
Oh, yeah,
so I think I'm going to take it in reverse order then. So first, I just want to say something about World First. I'm not advertising for them, even though I sort of am. But one of the issues I had was being able to easily work with clients in different countries. So I work with people in New Zealand, I work with people in the UK, Norway, and in the US. And I might have a project starting in Canada, for example, later in the summer. So what I had was the issue of getting paid in various currencies. And I always want to provide the less hassle to my client as possible. So I found World First after a little bit of searching, and I've been using them for years now. And what it allows you to do is it allows you to open a multi-currency account with these people who are based in London. They're regulated by the UK Financial Services Authority, so they're bona fide, as it were. And some of this is geared up for e-commerce, but what I use it for business services. So what that gives me access to bank accounts, World First bank accounts in any country that I've wanted to work in. And I give that to my client. The client pays into that bank account in their local currency, which is the same currency as my invoice. And then it comes into this system, and then it gives me complete control over the currency transaction and which rate I get for my getting my money actually back into euros and back into a Spanish account. So that makes it very easy for the client, because all they have to do is fill out a form in order to get the information for World First to handle the transaction. And they do that once, then that's it. And then beyond that, when you're working in business services, generally there's no fee. but will first make their money on the spread and the rate that they offer. So this has been a fantastic tool for actually being able to deal with clients outside of the Eurozone and to make that possible and get paid. The second tool,
from physical, like from physical persons or from companies, usually.
I think both. You can accept from both, and they have a different form to fill in depending where it's a company or. But basically, they'll want that person's passport information. They'll want some ID in order to pass the money laundering checks type thing that they do. And as soon as that's done, and then I've had payment of individuals too. Cool. So the second thing that I use loads is a toggle. Because this is recorded, I'm not going to go in. I've just set up a separate little account here. Toggle is the best time tracking software that I've found, mainly because a stopwatch really works for me. So what I end up doing is I track my whole day in Toggle, and I'm able to just go in, start and stop a timer. I'm able to jump in between tasks, restart tasks, and I can track my whole day. So I constantly log my time, what I'm doing via Toggle. This is free, by the way. You can pay to get extra features like billable hours and things like that, but I've not needed it. It gives you really good stopwatch functionality like this. You can set up multiple clients, multiple projects, and keep everything organized like that. And at the end of the day, for example, if I'm working time materials on a monthly basis, I can go in, get last month's hours, and get a report here. And I'm actually able to, in this account, I'm empty, of course, I'm actually able then to generate a detailed timesheet if my client wants access to that. I'm not able to do much of a demo here because there's not much data. But if I flip back to my main toggle, this is sort of, I can give you a quick look at this. This is the entire of last year, all sort of hours. And I can go back and look at last month, for example. I get the hours worked. I can come in. You can split it up by client, project, etc. There's lots of stuff in here. If I just go to, for example, the sales and marketing, apply, roll updates, and like I say, you can go to detailed reports, and you can save these things off as PDFs. What I tend to do is log all my time religiously, and then if I need to generate an invoice or a timesheet, I'll go in and tidy these up so that we're not seeing all this little second jitter before presenting it to our client. But it's a good free tool, it works well, and it's reliable. The last thing I just want to say very briefly, this little button up here, which I have on all my devices, all my browsers, is LastPass, which is a full password monitor. I go with this one because it does work well. It does autofill in forms and apps on the mobile, and it doesn't cost much. I'm a premium user, and I think that only costs me about $40 a year or something. Okay, I'll leave it there. There's not much else to say on password managers. This one works. It's good.
Okay, great, Steve. We can always go into more detail if any of you have specific questions on those tools. We're going to now move on and go with Carlos, who will also share with us the tools that he uses.
Okay, let's go.
There you go.
Okay, my name is Carlos Jonay Suarez Suarez. I am a digital consultant digital strategy consultant, independent for since 7 years ago. Above all for clients here in Canary Island, Spanish Island, but I have had some clients in Europe too, in Germany, Norway, or other countries. Okay, but I am the founder of Digital Nomad Experiences too. I met with this project to Elsa, and I started to collaborate as advisor for Tenerife Work and Play. And recently we launched Escuela de Trabajo Remoto. It's very similar to Digital Nomad Experiences, but it's for teaching, advice, and consultant different enterprise and independent professionals for start to work in remote. Okay, and this is my background. And in the third screen, you can watch the different tools I use it in my day-to-day. For example, for communications, I like to use Slack. For me, it's the more versatile. What do you say? This it's not the more easy, but it's the best option for me for communicate. About all, if you use the direct communication and asynchronous communication in the same time, Slack for me is very, very well. But you have different ways to communicate with your team. In times, for example, with your clients, if you want, you have the possibility to invite your clients to work in a project if you want. And in the new version, in the 2.0 version for Slack, you have a lot of new things you can use for improve your works, your projects, and your different things. For communications, for me, is the best options. You have the different channels for separate teams, for separate projects, for separate topics, or where you want. You have the possibility to do a draft, for example, for write good message and send later when you finish the draft. You have the possibility to use the Slack bot for automatic task, for automation in tasks, and use this for put remember one task later or the next day. You have, for example, a lot of integrations with tools like Google Drive, Asana, Trello, and other project management systems if you want, and try to manage this task and this project directly in Slack and rapidly in a Slack. For example, when some guy or one guy of your team finish one task in Asana, you can answer directly in Slack, and you don't need to go to Asana for this. Okay, and for this reason and more things, for me, Slack is the best option for communication. And you have the possibility, for example, with your team or the people you work there, do video calls and calls directly using Slack. It's free. It's free until 10,000 messages. From this, you need to pay. Normally, is €6 per person, but it's not expensive. Depends of the size of the team, not. But if your team is three people or 4 people, it's good. It's a good price for this. For video calls, I recommended Zoom, but if you know, if you read the last news about this, Zoom in these days have a little problems with the security, and it's not very recommendable to use nowadays. For this reason, I tried to use Whereby. It's a Norway company for video calls. For me, it's very, very good, above all for small teams, for teams between 4 and 12 people. It's very good. If you have teams bigger than this, you have a pro plan. It's 60 euros per month, and it's good. I like it so much, Whereby, but it's very easy to share. But you only need to put the URL / the name of your company, sir, and the other guys, the other people, your clients, the other independent professionals, only click in this URL and start to use Whereby. It's not necessary install the application. It's not necessary install different things in your browser or these kind of things. For me, this is very, 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 very useful, and I like it whereby. And if you need a more professional tool in this moment, the best for me is Zoom. It's very, very, very easy to use. It's very versatile. What do you say? Versatile. Elsa, help me, please.
Yeah, versatile. I don't know. Es que no me
Okay,
sale.
okay. No problem. It's very. It's very. Oh, sorry. It's very
You have a
easy.
lot of,
Okay.
yeah,
For project management, it depends. Okay, if you use a software for teams, I recommend Asana. Why I recommend Asana? But Asana is in Asana you have all methodologies. You have Canvas. You have a list of tasks. You have chronograph. You have calendar. If you have if you manage different teams, or you want to have a very good software for managed teams, Asana for me is the best in this line too. For example, Trello is very, very easy to use too, but is only used for Kanban. No, if you use the Kanban system for things to do, things doing, or things done, it's good, but it's you have only this option. In Asana, you have this option. You have tasks. You have chronograph. You have it's more open for different teams. Above all, for medium companies, the size between 50 to 100 persons, or these kind of things, or for small teams is good too. And the price per person too, no problem for the price is like between 6-7 euros per month per person. Okay, it's similar to a Slack. And if you are an independent professional, or you work with different independent professionals or freelancers, I recommend Todoist. It's a very, very easy to use too. It's more Todoist put more focus in the checklist and in the tasks. No, it's very good, but you can classify the tasks for different preference. No, you have the red flag for important, very, very, very important tasks. You have the orange flag for intermediate task, and you have the blue flag, sorry, for the not important or easy task. No, if you want. And I like it this type of classification, but it's very clear when you start your day. Put the important task in the first, and complete this first, and start to complete the others. No, you have a calendar view. You have the possibility to assign tasks for other people. You have a good element is the karma. You can define the karma, the number of tasks you must to complete day a day. For example, I put five tasks per day, and you have a karma. No, if you complete the 5 tasks per day, your karma is good. If not, the application invites you, send a notification, and say, okay, this week your karma is more or less, or your karma is very well, or your karma is poor, and this is really good. And the integrations with Todoist, okay. Slack, Asana, Todoist have a very good integration with other tools. For example, the extension, the bronze extension of Todoist, I use a lot for save a lot of things, and put different tags from the Gmail, from the other tools for communication, and for me it's very, very well too. For document management, I use a lot Google Health Suite, above all Google Drive, but is for me the best tool for cloud computing, or for shared documents and work together with other in documents. And I think that everybody knows Google Drive. Not is
It is well known, although
Yeah.
who don't know it.
For me, it's one of the best software of Google. No, this the more recognized software from Google. And now for wikis and other things, I am trying to Notion. Is this software exists since 2015, I think, or 2014. And I tested since I tested in 2015 or more or less this year, but I get off. But now I am trying to testing again, and for me it's a good tool for building wikis or building repositories with information for teams, or for building welcome paths for teams. It's very easy to use, and I recommend it about all for this. For wikis, it's a very good tool. I am totally agree with Steve. Toggle for me is the best time management tool in the market in this moment. I tried tracking time too. It's very similar to Toggle, very similar. It's, the same things, but for me Toggle is very good. You have integration with Asana, you have integration, you have a button in your browser, in Firefox, Google Chrome, where you want, and it's very complicated. You forget to push the button, no? And for password password management and VPN. For password, I use 1Password. It's very similar to LastPassword too. You have the different apps for iOS, Android, macOS, Windows, and you have a browser extension too. The reason is I use a lot of passwords for different tools. When I worked to develop a WordPress page with one company, I use it for put the different admins in WordPress at different things, and it's a good tool too. And for VPN, I use NordVPN. I don't use a lot VPN, but in times when I work abroad in other countries, and I use in sites in place, it is not very secure, or I don't secure with the Wi-Fi or the different things. Normally I use a VPN for security. So this is all my my tools.
Okay, great, Carlos. Thank you so much for sharing that. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to write it down on the chat, or raise your hand, or just jump in. I will move now. I will share with you guys what I use. I'm not as, I would say, as professional as these other guys. And we will say all of this during the discussion. But the most important thing is your methodology and how you approach your work and how you plan and so on. So the tools are really the last thing you need to think of. And many of these tools, I started using them quite recently, or in the last, let's say, 3 to 4 years. Because before I was part of companies and so on, and I didn't need to use as many tools. But for me, communications, I use also everything that said Carlos before about Slack. I think it's great for internal communication within teams, small teams. And I know, I mean, there are some virtual groups and virtual co-workings. Maybe Sofia can talk later about this new virtual co-working here in Tenerife, Workeamos. And it's great to share and to also even meet people using Slack. So that's great. Then I also think, as Carlos said, that Zoom is probably one of the best in terms of quality and you know, even the sound, the quality of the image, and the way to manage it. I think Zoom is the best one, although because of the security issues has had some reputational concerns lately. But I still think it's the same. Today we're using this Jitsi, which is quite similar. And again, there are so many tools out there that we were trying to decide which one to use. yeah, it's difficult to choose from. We have also used Meet and many others, WebEx. There are so many tools out there that if you guys know any other that is good, please share that with us. We would love to learn more tools, even more. Then I use Telegram to communicate with some of my clients and groups that are used to that one. And even if I don't want to use WhatsApp for business, since I moved back to the Canary Islands a year and a half ago, I've been forced to use WhatsApp. Like, I don't know if it's a cultural thing here in Spain or what it is, but people use WhatsApp to ask you for meetings, to talk to you about work, to everything. So I have no other choice but to use WhatsApp. And even if I try to change this, it hasn't. I've tried, but it hasn't worked. And I agree with Steve. At the end of the day, I also have to adapt to my clients' tools. So if they use WhatsApp, that's what I use. If they use whatever they use, I will adapt to them. Then for project management and for the projects that I do have, that I manage myself, I use Trello a lot for my own organization. And if any of you want to have a look at it, I can show it. Although, yeah, it's very user friendly and quite easy to use. So then Todoist, I also use it for specific tasks that I need to break down, and especially if I'm working with somebody. I do this a lot with Carlos. We assign tasks to each other, and we organize ourselves pretty easy through using Todoist. And then this is not directly project management, but in some of my projects, I need to manage the social media. Later.com, it's similar to Buffer, I guess, or some of you might be more familiar with Buffer. But I like Later.com, especially for Instagram planning and for Facebook. So I use that for some of my projects. And in terms of document management, the same. Google Drive, I use it a lot with all my clients, and Dropbox when I have some videos or photos and so on. But yeah, those are my tools. I'm learning a lot from you guys, so thank you for sharing all of this password thing, and I should start managing my time as well. So I'm gonna try Toggle. But yeah, I leave it to you, Roman, to continue and share your tools if you like. Roman, we cannot.
Roman, the micro.
Right. Thanks for the reminder. Yeah, so I was saying, as I introduced myself before, I'm a software engineer. I work in several different companies, wearing several different hats. In terms of remote working, this is my third time working remotely. So first experience was in 2011. Then I worked for another company remotely in 2015. And then in the last 2 years, I've been working at CloudBees remotely. I have to say, this is the first time I'm really comfortable about it. So the first two experiences were pretty bad. And that's something I wanted to also highlight as the first part of my my time here, which is in the first two companies for which I work remotely, I was the only one working remotely, right? So everyone else was in an office, and I was the only one actually, living in an island in the middle of the ocean, kind of thing. So that I have to say, most of the time that sucks, and that sucks because people are not used to having all the communication happening in a written manner, or at least in a way that everyone can see. So there are many informal communications happening in the office. People just go to your desk, tap you in the shoulder, tell you something, right? So that's a bit of a mess. So now in the last 2 years, I decided to try it again, and I've been working for CloudBees. CloudBees is a software company based in the US, although we are a multinational company. We are about 500 employees, so it's not tiny companies, 500 people, all of them working remotely. That's, as you can guess, a lot of people and lots of things to handle, right, in terms of communication. And since CloudBees was founded in 2010, and it's been a remote-first company since the very beginning, so that helps a lot. And a bit more on CloudBees, to give you some more context, it's not only 500 employees, it's also 50% of the Fortune 500 companies are customers of CloudBees. For instance, some of you have mentioned Doist. Like we have many software companies, and then many other verticals like banks or pharmacy, pharma industry, car manufacturing, many different verticals. So Doist, for instance, a company that has been mentioned a couple of times, is a customer of ours, but we also have IBM, T-Mobile, HSBC, Bosch, many different companies. CloudBees was founded on the grounds of Jenkins. So Jenkins is a software automation server, a CI server, the most used in the world. It's an open source project. The CTO of CloudBees was the creator of Jenkins. Kosuke Kawaguchi used to be the CTO of CloudBees. And most of the contributors of Jenkins, including myself, work at CloudBees, but the community is way bigger. So then CloudBees provides premium offerings on top of Jenkins. We have CloudBees CI. We also have CloudBees CD, other products, and CloudBees feature flags. And we are supporting very strongly Jenkins X, and we also have a SaaS product based on Jenkins X. So it's very techy. So we are a software company that creates software products for software developers. So we are very focused on that. But since nowadays every company is a software company, we have, as I said, big banks such as HSBC, or we have many other traditional companies that are moving to automating all their stuff, right? And they have developers in-house and their customer hours. So this is a bit of context around the company I'm working for. I see lots of chat messages coming, and hope they are not questions for me. If there are questions for me, please somebody read them aloud so I can.
No worries, Roman. I will keep an eye, but this is people asking about some of the tools, and we're sharing info here, but no worries, I will.
Awesome. All right, great, appreciate that. So that's a bit of a context, and that in that context, I wanted to highlight some of the what I call the toolkit we use, which is composed of the tools, but also the how, which I wanted to highlight, being very picky on that, but I think it's the key thing of being successful in a remote first environment. It's more the how than the what, but also focusing on the tools for a while. I divided them into three groups in my case. So for communications, product management. So I'm as I said, software engineer, so I treat things as products rather than projects, and for documentation management as well. So when it comes to communications, we use very heavily Slack, and we will discuss the hows because I think it's very important. Slack can get very messy very quickly. So you have to be aware of how to use it, particularly if you think in terms of a 500 people company, right? So if you have 500 people, you have a channel, everyone's shouting, saying at here, it gets very messy very quickly. So we have best practices that we can discuss later on. And then in terms of, we use also very heavily email. And that connects with something else I wanted to mention later, which is the asynchronous communication. So you have many ways to communicate, and we use different tools for different purposes. So if we need immediate feedback, right, so we tend to go for calls. If you are looking for a quick answer, we tend to use direct messages in Slack. If you are looking for as soon as possible, and you want to reach a broader audience, we use Slack channels. We have team channels, support channels, many different channels for different purposes. And if it's less priority, we use email, right? So email, it's also fine. In that sense, so we have Slack, and we use very heavily the Google Suite, also known as Google Drive and Gmail and others, right? So for email, we use Gmail. We have the corporate account of G Suite. And we also have, for video, our official tool nowadays is the Google Meet, which is the paid version of Google Hangouts. I think last time I checked, allows up to 250 people on the same call and also being recorded. So it's pretty good. It's safe. I also kept Zoom there because we used to have Zoom for mostly community-related activities. I said we are the primary sponsor of Jenkins, which is a very widely used open source product. So we have many community-related activities. For those, we used to use Zoom, but now it's company policy because of the security vulnerabilities that Zoom has shown in the recent times. We have banned it for a while, or recommend not to use it, so to say. So we are deferring to Google Meet. Whenever Zoom fixes their stuff, then we might have it back into some of our calls. But yeah, so that's regarding communications. Of course, we have other means of communication. So and Jira and GitHub are there as well. And I will also add Zendesk, which is a tool for support management, supporting cases, So when you call support, you have an issue. Our support team uses Zendesk, so we have all the cases there. And same goes with the Jira, so we track all our products with Jira. For those that are not familiar with Jira, it's a very widely used product management software by Atlassian, very used in the software development world. It allows you to define user stories or tickets and track them. Is very relevant in the agile software development world. It has very cool features to connect with Scrum framework as a way of working. So we heavily use Jira. So all our product features, bags are tracked in Jira. We have communications happening in the Jira tickets as well. And that's also related to this thing I mentioned earlier about the asynchronous communication, right? So we very strongly focus on asynchronous communication, so we can leave notes in Jira tickets, and the same in GitHub issues or GitHub pull requests. So for those of you that are not in the software industry, GitHub is source code management software. So we store our repositories there, and it allows you to have peer reviews by means of their pull requests. It's very technical. I don't know if you're familiar with it or not, but so basically the work completed is there for others to review, and we can have communication there, like comments, request changes and things like that. So there's a lot of communication also in GitHub, along with Jira. Those are integrated in our case. And then we have, for documentation management, we also have the Google Suite, which is formerly known as Google Drive. So it's very good for presentations, documentation. So we use that heavily, as well as GitHub. So in software, it's very common to have README files in the repos and use Markdown or ASCII Doctor in our case as a documentation as code approach. So we heavily use that. Right, so this is an overview of the main tools we use. I'm probably missing some, but I think these are the most relevant ones in our day-to-day lives. So Slack, Zoom, G Suite, Jira, GitHub, most of it. And as I said before, right, I cannot stress this enough. So the tools are okay, but the really important part is the how we use those tools, right? You can use many different tools. We're using Jitsi, seems to work fine. I used it the first time, like that last week. I didn't know about it. Seems to work fine. So if it works for you, fine. The key thing is how you use all these tools, right? So if we go to the next slide, This we have a bit of a summary of.
Can you guys see? Yeah.
I still see my screen, but something weird happening with my video. So if the rest of you
No,
see,
it's still on the last slide. Also.
Yeah, it's okay. It's going. It takes a bit. Let me stop it and put it back again.
sure.
Can you guys see it now?
Not yet. Can others see it? Or is it just me that I don't?
I don't know. Otherwise, just
Right, we can just go through them if it doesn't work. I don't mind.
yeah, just say it out loud. It will come up at some point.
Okay, right. Then there it is. I see it now. Awesome. So as I said before, right? So the most important part is about how you use the tools. So in our cases, I mentioned like 500 people talking at the same time. You can guess if it were a WhatsApp group, you will probably leave that group as soon as possible, right? Because it pretty quickly gets messy. So we organize channels in. We have team channels. For instance, my team, we have a channel which is private, but we tend to use them publicly. It's just that the people that are in that channel are only those that belong to the team. So we have that, work-related conversations focus on the team, what we're doing, right? Every cycle we plan, we have conversations there. Then we have broader groups. For instance, our team, many people want to interact with us, either for support or for people from other organizations within the company asking questions about stuff that we do or they need us to do. So we have a more public group for discussions around what we do for others to come there and ask questions and stuff. And then we have company-wide channels for announcements or memos from our CEO or executives. We have sometimes we have all hands meetings, right? So calls in which we are supposed to be all there because of important stuff being told. So we have channels for those things, and every team has the equivalent channels, right? And then we also have social channels, which is a very important thing, I would say. So when you are remote first, it's very easily, especially for people that are not used to it, to only end up talking about work-related activities whenever you talk to a coworker, right? So it's all, as humans, I think it's important for us to have some sort of, keep those social interactions we tend to have in the office, like how are you doing, talking about shared passions, hobbies. So for those things, we have different approaches. So we have social channels. So we use namespaces for channels, right? So we have team dash blah blah blah, group dash blah blah blah, and then we have social dash blah blah blah. So in social channels, we have social channels for technology, coding, for security, for pets. We have social channels for board games, so you name it, right? So anyone that is interested in any of these topics, join the channels, and you have like that water cooler moment there. We also have an official water cooler event every Thursday in which all the executives are in Slack live, and we can ask questions and discuss stuff. It's pretty cool. And our CEO sends a video beforehand, like highlighting things that are relevant every week. Then I organized what we call BYOB. That thing stands for Bring Your Own Beverage or Beer or whatever you prefer. So it's completely informal call. This is video, and basically it's about, the only rule we have for that call is that we cannot talk about work. So we talk about nowadays mostly coronavirus related things, lockdown, meals that you're cooking, things like that. But we tend to talk about travel, or we talk about even sometimes like politics related things, like things that are going on in places or different views on things. So I'm very open to whoever wants to join and have a social discussion. We do that once a month, and I think it's very, very valuable, really valuable. I mean, bear in mind that we, as I said, we are 500 people, all remote. We do have some offices in normal times when there's not lockdown. Some salespeople go to offices when needed. It's typically entirely optional. So socializing, it's still important. So we get to meet each other sometimes when we go to events, we organize events. But yeah, still do that remotely. So those first 2 points, right? Organize channels, whatever tool you use. We use Slack. You can do that in other places. Something important about Slack, please try to use threads. So if everyone starts to send messages in a channel, it gets messy very quickly. We encourage to use threads. So when you are talking about a specific topic in the channel, use the thread. So I only read the first message, and if it's interesting to me, I get into the thread. Otherwise, I can keep reading. That makes it much clearer. So organize channels, stay human, maximize transparency. That's something I also wanted to highlight. All communication has to be written or recorded. So all working calls like this one, we record them for people that cannot attend to join. Bear in mind, we have people in Australia, India, Europe, and the US, East Coast and West Coast. So there's no way everyone can be at the same time in the call. So we record all the stuff. And it's been proven very useful. And that's probably what has been the most helpful to me compared to the previous experiences I've described, right? That in this case, all the communication is written or recorded, so everyone has access to all the communication. And the last point I want to make highlight was work asynchronously. I think I've said that before, but people in an office environment are very used to go tap somebody in the shoulder and ask questions. That causes interruption, loss of productivity, because you have to get back to what you were doing. So we have asynchronous work as default. I think this probably helps that we come from the open source world in which everything is asynchronous, and I cannot stress enough how helpful it has been that combination of transparency, all communication written or recorded, plus working asynchronously, assuming, as I said there, like Slack is considered soon, email takes longer, and Jira and GitHub also have lots of information written by folks there asynchronously as well. So it's kind of a quick summary of what we do, lots of things to digest. I will leave it for others to keep discussing these things, but feel free to ask any questions. I'll be happy to answer.
Right. Thanks a lot, Roman. I don't know if Steve, you wanted to.
Yeah, just very quickly on those last 3 points, there's 3 I added. And this is more just general getting these things to work for remote. Over communicate. I'm a serial over communicator. Send loads of messages, and I tend to just be very loud on Slack and all these communication channels, because you have to over communicate in order to get to remote to work. I think that's more important if you're in an organization that isn't completely distributed. If you're one of a few remote workers, then actually over communicating and not holding back helps a lot. On the team water coolers, one of the very effective things that we did was so Meet, Zoom and stuff isn't just for meetings. We did 2 things. We used it for coffee break, dropping coffee breaks at 10 a.m. every day. So anybody can just come along with a cup of coffee and drop into the meeting. And we also had a constantly running Meet, where anybody could just go and sit there during the day. And when we had physical offices, they had a separate PC set up with a camera and a screen, so you could actually see what was going on in the office, and everybody was on board for that, so it wasn't creepy or spying or anything, but people could join in that central Meet whenever they wanted to hang out or feel like they were in the office. And the last one is set your boundaries, because there's a saying, set your boundaries, because if you don't, somebody will set them for you. So set them. So that means going into Slack, adjusting your do not disturb schedules, tightening down, and making sure that you don't get notifications or messages, outside of hours, and then sticking to that yourselves. And if you stick to it, then other people respect it too, and won't bug you because you're not answering Slack at 10:30 at night, etc.
Right. That I wanted to jump in and mention that that's a very good point that you're making, Steve, about the boundaries thing. We very heavily also use Google Calendar as part of the G Suite, and Google Calendar also allows you to set what your working hours are. And we use that a lot when scheduling meetings with people, since we are all over the place. When you are scheduling, we'll see if it's on his or her working hours or not. But it's very highly recommended to set those boundaries. I have to say I'm not the best one at that thing, particularly because my team is mostly in the US and many of them are in the West Coast. So I have 8-hour difference with them. And I like to work in my morning, and we also have some folks in Europe. So yeah, so I tend to have weird work times, but still, again, it's probably because I allowed that to happen and I'm okay with it. I just organize myself differently. But I do highly recommend what Steve was saying about setting your own boundaries, whatever makes you feel comfortable, but make those clear so that everyone knows and respects them. Yeah.
Guys, how about the phone calls? I mean, the real phone calls, the from the normal telephone.
Using the plastic thing, you mean? Oh.
Yeah, that plastic thing. What about that? Because I'm kind of faced that problem like 4 years ago that these calls actually disturb you like literally very much.
Right. I can talk about myself. Since I'm not customer facing, I don't tend to have those. So this doesn't happen to me. People just, when they need to call me, will be internal people, and they will call me via video call, Google Meet, Slack, whatever. But if you are customer facing, more traditional customers, I guess that can happen. Doesn't happen to me though.
Yeah, I what I normally do with my phone is if I really need to focus on something, I put it away. I just hide it.
Yeah.
I have it in silence all the time. And I only let calls. I have the watch thing, so I see my calls through here. And if it's something I think it's gonna be important, I will pick it up. Otherwise, I always tend to schedule the calls. Otherwise, it disturbs my whole day.
Nobody calls me. I don't have that problem. Or if you do, I just ignore it because it's the bank or something.
Right.
It's
But I don't tend to make calls either. It's the last
Yeah.
resort because often it's people in America or in Norway or something like that, and I don't want to.
Right.
I'd rather struggle to find another means for a free call, even though I guess it's not that expensive. Really.
Yeah, I think that every tool have their moment. No, for example, for me, for talk with clients here or in Spain or Canary Island, I use in times the calls. For example, I try to resolve all with mails. For example, no, if you send a good mail, asynchronous communication and step by step, and it's very clear, you don't need to call. But in times for try to do the things more fast. Maybe you need to do a little call, 5-minute call, 10-minute call is good. More is spend your time, in my opinion. But by the other way, I think that you don't need to spend a lot of time in video calls or in meetings. If you spend a lot of time in meetings, you don't have time to work. If you use asynchronous communication, you have time to work. And for example, if you want to do a sprint 1 day per week, for example, Monday mornings or 3-day Mondays or where you want, it's good. One per week or 2 per week is good. But the rest of the time, only if you need to one thing or different things, use a Slack for try to communicate directly there, or asynchronous communication in your thread. Put hey man, I need to check this link, or I send me this document, or different things. But you need time. You need time to work. This is my way, and it's my opinion.
Yeah, I guess it's very personal, and it depends on the work you do and so on. But let's give time for the people who has joined us today to share with us the tools that they use, if they have any questions. Maybe Sophia, you want to share with us how is the experience of the virtual co-working going?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, thank you. Yes, I want to like give a thought about the phone conversation we were having. I think it's very different. It depends in the company you work, and if you work for yourself or for a corporation. For example, I work for Holido, which is vacational rental meta searcher in Germany, and we use AirCall for calls. Basically, it's an app that you have on your phone that lets you track all the calls that you do, and it integrates with your CRM. And it also allows you to leave automatic messages to like basically you can customize it. So if someone calls you, you can derivate it to another person in the corporation. You can create flows or how the calls come in and who receives them. It's a very powerful tool. And also we integrated with Pipedrive, which is our sales lead management tool. And it's an amazing tool if you have to face if you're customer facing. But Elsa, I agree with you. I've never used WhatsApp before on a business level. I used to work with B2B, and now I'm working in B2C. And it seems that WhatsApp is the only tool that exists for everyone. So you send an email, they don't reply. You send a WhatsApp, they reply. You call via phone, they call via WhatsApp. So WhatsApp has become the tool of communication. 100%. I don't think I use email anymore. Only like CEO and C-level sends official communications via email, but everything else is done by Slack. For example, you were saying before. I've already used Slack in the 3 previous companies I work, and I'm using it myself now for my own project, which I will explain now. But Slack has always been the first tool to communicate inside big companies, medium companies, startups, whatever size. We would always use Slack as the official way to communicate. And I say email, it's only used as leaving like a proof that an official communication was sent, but not as a efficient tool to communicate. And I think Slack is the best. I think it changed my life the day I discovered Slack. I started using it in the startup I was working in London. It's an edtech startup where I also use some other of the tools that they were mentioning, Jira, Confluence, to do the wikis. But I think that's more of a corporate level, because I think at Atlassian products are expensive. So Jira and Confluence are part of like a corporation set of products, and I use more Notion right now to keep track of everything. But yes, I think the tools you use, it's depending on if you're working for a big company or you have to pay for them yourself. Such as I use 1Password in the company I work for, but I use LastPass for myself because it has a free version. So I think you have to adapt also to who pays for it. But yeah, coming back to Slack and Workeamos. So I don't know if all of you know, but I started a project in Tenerife, in Santa Cruz, where we launched a co-working space for up to 70 people in the city center, but due to what's going on now, we couldn't open. So we thought how to take the physical experience of a co-working space to the online world. And we thought about opening or setting up a virtual co-working space. And what does that mean? Group of people with the same interests that get together and discuss topics that they want to discuss. And we did that in the Slack, scenario in the software. So basically, we created a Slack space with different channels where people from the digital world, freelancers, small companies, startups can discuss and network. So basically, when we can go out again, we can take that virtual community that we've created offline. So yeah, so you can see how Slack also, it not only you can use it for like work, strictly work corporate scenario, but also for a community outside any of the work scenarios or companies. But yeah, most of the tools that everyone has been talking about, I've used them. I think they are the most famous one, the ones that people use. There are some of them, like the time management one, Toggle, I think I've never seen before. But yes, most of them, yes. Also, what else did I want to put? Yeah, like for communication, I'm using Zoom right now, but I prefer much more Google Meets. But I guess it's because the company I work for pays for the premium version. I think if you're able to pay for the G Suite and the premium version of Google Hangout, which is Meet, it's better than any other, better than Zoom and better than anything. Like we have 250 people meetings with perfect connection, perfect communication. So if I had to say, yeah.
Because I've joined a lot of meetings, and either the sound, the quality of the image, whenever you record, you don't see the toggle view. You have the person who is talking coming in and out. So I don't know, but that's my personal.
Zoom or Hangouts?
We're saying
Meet or Hangouts?
Meet.
Okay, because I use Meet all the time because we've got the same suite and.
Yeah, I think it's great.
The speaker switching on a lot of these, you can control that by clicking on people's thumbnails, so you can toggle them on and off, depending if you want to track or if you want to hold.
But you have to do it one by one. You cannot do it all at the same time, which bothers me a lot. But yeah, I guess it's personal.
Yeah. But yeah, also someone mentioned Zendesk for ticket management. My current company uses Zendesk and we are heavy users, but also for my own project, which I pay for, then I can do Zendesk. HubSpot, the free version, has a free version of ticket management. So if you want to track your tickets and you don't want to spend money on it, you can also have HubSpot, which is for free and lets you manage this topic. And LastPass, yes, I have a free version too. So if you are only one user on LastPass, you can use it for free forever. So we have 3 people in my own project using the same password and login. But yeah.
Great, thanks.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Sure.
Sophia, the co-working community, is that open?
It was about to open just when the COVID started.
Yeah. No, sorry, I meant your virtual community you've created on Slack. Is that an open
it's
access?
I can. I can send you now the link so you can access it.
That would be great. Thank you.
Yeah, I will do it now.
Yes, please.
Yes, and let's bring some English community there too, because it's there is a channel for remote workers, and it would be great if we can all
mix a little bit.
Yes.
I have a question. What CRM do you use for your for managing all the inside business processes?
What do you mean inside business processes?
Like documents, I don't know, contract documents or customer related data managing and so on.
So specifically for the co-working or in the company?
No, in the big company.
In the big company, we used Google Drive, like G Suite. We store everything in the Drive. And also, as I mentioned before, everything that it's related to wiki and processes and how to do, it's Confluence. And both of the 2 companies I've worked before, this one, Holido, German one, and and Buzu, which was a UK edtech, we always used Confluence, which is also a product of Atlassian and Jira, because both have softwares, so it works really well if you're working in that space.
Right. To that question, not that I am in that part of the company, but I do know we use Salesforce as a CRM that you asked for. So Salesforce is our case, and then same as Sophia, I mentioned already Jira. We also do use Confluence as well, and then G Suite for documents and stuff. But for more like customer tracking, CRM stuff, we use Salesforce.
For customer tracking, I would recommend HubSpot, like 100%. It integrates with a lot of softwares, and it's also free. So it has a very powerful free version. My other company, we're using Pipedrive. Yeah, I recommend HubSpot 100%.
Okay, and great. Thank you for sharing all of that. I don't know if anyone else would like to share anything with us, or if you guys have any questions.
Right, I bet there have to be questions there.
I could add one tool that hasn't been mentioned, a bit from the other side of the world, of course. But the thing is that when you have some sort of a medium-sized company, like 20, 30 people, something like that, and it's not software-based, it's like something like around clients, invoices, some sort of law material, for example, like generating some sort of a law documents or something else, I would like to recommend Bittrex 24. It's actually not super new, but the thing is that you can generate, you can not super easily, but you can generate the business processes. Like, for example, somebody creates a ticket, then it automatically generates a document, which is like a document form, which sends in an email. And if the client replies, he puts that document inside the CRM, and automatically it comes to other tasks. For example, for other person to go and visit the client, and then he fills up some sort of documents inside, and then automatically this program will send a task for other people, and so on. So it's like more like automatization tool for medium-sized companies. So it's kind of also a tool for take a look at.
What was the name? Sorry.
Bittrex 24. I've put a link into the chat.
Okay.
Not Bittrex, the cryptocurrency market, but Bittrex 24.
Bittrex. Okay. Awesome. Any other questions, comments?
Yeah, I put here our tool, other tool. If you want, the name is Prospero. It's a tool for sending the proposals for clients, and it's totally digital. You send the proposal if you are a freelance. If you want to use this, you send the proposal. It's totally digital, and the client accept the proposal digital too. I send you, and you it's more secure. And you signed totally. The process is totally digital, and the platform is very secure for using. And you have the different the different designs, the different personalization tools, and it's very good. I use it for international clients or European Union clients for this, and it's very good. But put the BAT digitally, put the different things, the format for work with different countries, about all for international, and it's good. I put in the chat.
Oh, I missed that, Carlos, but are you referring to, I guess you're referring to DocuSign? Is that the one?
No, it's for send proposals. What's it called again?
What's the name?
Prospero.
Okay.
Prospero.
Okay.
Prospero.
We use a very similar one, but it's called DocuSign. DocuSign. I can type it.
I use HelloSign.
Okay.
which also has a free version. That's what I love about it. Like,
Yeah.
especially on the free version of software.
I have other. I don't remember the name now, but I am searching. Is probably no.
And I have a question. Is someone using Go Cardless as part of the payment management of their services? Someone Go Cardless? No?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Because I found that it's the cheapest way to manage payments, but I'm starting to use it.
Go cardless.
Yeah.
So for
Yeah, it's very, very-
subscriptions,
Go Carlet. Okay, yeah.
For
Yes.
direct debits and subscriptions, it's the cheapest. It's 1% per transaction. 0.25 cents fix. Well, PayPal, I think it's like 2 and something percent, or nearly 3. I know other people using it, but I want to know if someone had an experience already.
no.
Well, in that realm of tools, now you reminded me of another tool that I use, which is we have in the company. It's Expensify.
Yeah, I love it.
Right.
Yeah.
I have a love-hate relationship with it, I guess. I have, whenever I travel, I have to do my expenses, so there's no other way to do it. But they have this smart scan thing that never works for me, so I end up always adding them manually. But it's okay. I mean, you have to do your expenses one way or another, so that one works.
In my previous company, we were doing Expensify, and now we're doing Excel sheets, which you have to print and scan and send. And I'm like, why?
That's a no-no, right?
People company, how can you be doing this?
Right.
For me, as a self-employed, what works is OK Ticket. I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but it's very convenient because you can even take a picture of the ticket. It automatically reads out the amount and so on, and you can assign it to an event or to a trip or to wherever you want. So it's very easy for me then to send that to my gestor. So it works for me, and it helps me track my own expenses. I'm gonna put it here too.
Yeah.
I use Expensify. The problem I had with it is that when it converted to other currencies, the actual currency rate it got me in euros didn't match up with what hit the bank. So I had to then go through and hand edit all that. That was the only pain. The smart scan seemed to work okay most of the time for me.
In that particular case, what I do whenever I travel to the UK or the US, it's that I will add the ticket, but then I will put the expenses in euros manually, and then I will add a screenshot or from the bank to prove the transaction. So that's the way we do it in order to avoid the issue with the conversion.
Yeah.
Revolut is good for this too. For example.
What?
Revolut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I do use Revolut as well. So, but the thing is, I go to the US, I pay all the stuff in dollars, and then I have to submit the tickets in dollars. And the exchange rate, I typically, when I travel, I put all my Revolut money in dollars and then travel there. So maybe the expense, the conversion rate was different when I did it than today, right? So what I do is I attach the conversion rate that was applied to me and put stuff in euros then. That's me doing stuff, right?
My bank is Santander, and every time I go abroad out of the Eurozone and register a foreign transaction, and especially on a business account, a PIMNIA's account, they slap silly fees on. So they start charging me, tens of euros sometimes for a hotel bill being settled.
It's expensive, yeah.
So I started using curve.com. And what that is that's a card. I shared the link. And that's a card. So they ship you a physical card, which is a pretty little funky card like that. And then that's connected to your app. And then you register all your other bank cards with it. and then it's multi-currency. So now I'm in Norway, I'm paying with the Curve card, and then it all goes through the app. It directly connects to my company bank account. And if I go and buy something in the gift shop and I accidentally charge at the company account, I can go in and time travel, and there's a little flux capacitor, and I can go back and it'll switch it over and charge it the other way. So it gives you like full control. It's multi-currency, and then Santander gets hit with the euro transaction.
Well, that's very similar
so
to
I don't have any of these crazy fees.
Right. Revolut will do something very similar to that. So you will have the Revolut card, and you will prepay to that card. I mean, you will put money in that card, and then you can select which currency you want to pay, and they will apply. Like
the difference here is they don't put any money in. It's just linked to your account, so it behaves like one of your cards.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think this has been very interesting, and we have been here for an hour and a half already. Yeah. So it went by so quickly, at least for me. So thank you so much for your contributions, Sophia, Laurinas, and to the other speakers. Yes, Steve.
Are you easily able to grab everything that went into the chat?
Yeah. I will be able to grab that, and I will share it. And I also managed to record at some point at the beginning, so we should have the video as well.
Awesome. Great.
Okay, so
perfect.
Thank you, everyone. I know this is, I mean, we can talk about this topic forever, so maybe we can think of doing part 2 and maybe more specific topic for the next one. But thank you, everyone. Thank you for your time, and we'll be in touch then. Hope to see you guys.
Thank you for setting it up.
Yeah,
thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. See you soon. Bye.
Bye. Have a good evening. Bye.